Anetons, connecting professionals.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about something called Microsoft Graph. Okay, so you might have heard about this. What is Microsoft Graph and all, and in Intune, what we are going to use it. Okay, so in programmable gateway, if you talk about it, Microsoft Graph, just think it like a control plane. Okay, so Microsoft Graph, technically, if you see that, it's just a API, okay, which is connecting you for the communication and all. It's like a wall in between your Intune and other areas which you're going to connect to and get the information from, right? So now we are going to talk more in deep about this Microsoft Graph, what it is, why it is, and why we're going to use it. So as in, think like Microsoft Graph, you're talking about for Microsoft 365 and PowerShell. What are the two distinctions? Okay, those two most practical, automation engine, how it works. So being an admin center, if you talk about intune.microsoft.com, right? So intune.microsoft is a GUI, which is graphical user interface for you as a human to interact with Intune, right? Microsoft Graph is a API. Okay, if you look at this entire, plane, okay, it talks about, it is an API. It is a control plane for the software, right? Then your PowerShell is your engines. Okay, your PowerShell is your automation engine, or it's a layer, okay, which is driving. So PowerShell is mainly, please allow guys, PowerShell is one of the most practical automation engines that we are going to use in this plane. Okay, so that this plane can drive, right? So Microsoft Graph, we are going to as in Microsoft said, they have described Graph as a gateway. Okay, this is a gateway for the data and intelligence across your Microsoft 365, your Windows, your enterprise mobility or security. Everywhere we are going to use this from the endpoint perspective. Okay, think it like, okay, let's take an example from the zero. Everyone is a professional here, right? Imagine that you are working in an organization where we have 50,000 users, 30,000 Windows devices, we have 10,000 mobile devices. I'm taking a high number, okay? 5,000, you are managing groups, okay? You have 1,000 applications, you have 100 of this Intune policies. You have Entra ID, you have Defender, you have Exchange, you are using Microsoft Teams, you are using SharePoint, right? You are using Windows Autopilot. Okay, so being a human as an administrator, it's not possible, or it's not efficiently possible to manage all of this by clicking through the portal, right? That's why we require a programmable interface, okay, through which we can simplify things. Okay, that is what is Microsoft Graph is going to help you out. Okay, so if you think in terms of, like we talked about, this giant or gigantic environment, in this environment we want to run up automation. So for that automation we require two things: either we can have a PowerShell or we can have Python, right? Both are connecting to one. Let me do one thing. Let me take you to my slide. Okay, uh, first of all, let's understand the agenda. Okay, then I'll draw a complete automation picture. First of all, we understand here Microsoft Graph. We'll understand the API concept. Okay, what is this API all about? Then we'll understand what exactly, what is the basic of it. right? Then we'll understand why we are using API. Okay, why not without API we can run things? Okay, what is that API meant for? What does it do exactly? Okay, we'll talk about it. Then we'll understand how Intune is using these APIs and what is the purpose of having these APIs in Intune. What is called API call syntax. Okay, so we'll talk about step by step all those API calls, like how we can call a API, means how we to call means how we can utilize that API in our Intune or day-to-day operations, how we can use it. Then what is called GE console. Okay, graph. Please guys go on mute. Graph interface, how we're going to use it, we'll talk about it. Then we'll do the live demonstration. We'll talk about Intune and PowerShell, how we can connect it, how we can use API plus PowerShell integration. Okay, we'll talk about some examples. And in this series, I'm giving you a complete example pack, one HTML file, okay, that will talk about all sort of important examples with their commands, with their PowerShell modules, okay, that you can simply copy and paste and you can use it. So rather than experimenting yourself, you can just follow that file and you can go step by step and you can learn Graph API. Okay, and then we understand about some useful links that we can utilize. Okay, now let's talk about the integration. So I was saying that, for example, uh, it's like you're doing integration and you want to do automation. Okay, so what options we have? If you can connect to this, okay, I have option here. One is called, I have PowerShell. Okay, another one I have is called Python. All right, now these two are connecting. Okay, these two are connecting to this line. Okay, through which this is what called your MS graph. Okay, this is called MS graph. Okay, now for automation we can use these two languages, PowerShell and Python, and we can connect it to Microsoft Graph. Now from Microsoft Graph, what things we can achieve? Okay, uh, what things we can achieve? We can go with your M365. Okay, we'll talk about M365. For M365 we can like manage Teams. Okay, we can manage SharePoint, we can manage Outlook, we can manage OneDrive. Okay, if you go to Entra, in Entra we can manage, in Entra ID we can manage users, we can manage groups, we can manage applications. Okay, different set of applications we can manage. We can manage roles as well. Okay, from Entra perspective. Then from Intune, what we can do, we can manage devices, we can manage policies, we can manage applications, we can manage compliances. Okay, all sort of things we can do it from here. Okay, compliance. So all this we can connect, and these all the services we're talking about, M365, or we're talking about Entra, we're talking about Intune. Okay, these all are cloud services, right? These are all connected to cloud. So as an architectural concept, Microsoft Graph is not Intune. Okay, people answer in interview that Microsoft Graph is a part of Intune, and that's what we are going to use it. Okay, so let's come back to our original picture. Okay, so Microsoft Graph is not a Intune, it's a programmable. For programmability, this is a layer that is exposed, that is exposing all APIs for your Microsoft cloud services, so you can connect to these different services and can manage it, right? So Intune already have exposed some of the device management functionalities through Microsoft Graph, and some of them, like we talk about device management, application configuration, compliances, remote actions, reporting, automation, all sort of these graph APIs are already exposed. Like if you I think you guys have not covered the CSPs, right? If you talked about CSPs, so CSPs also like do the same. CSPs are also exposed. But now here we are talking directly in terms of programming. We're talking about directly touching. It is as good like in your motherboard, like we have all these important components which are there on the motherboard, and they are responsible to do something, right? Some of them like for Bluetooth, some of them for your keyboard, some of them for your power function, some of them or for your USB ports and all, right? So there are different uh, set of chips which are there to support your entire computer, right? So these are already exposed. Now you need to know how you can utilize it. Now here we're talking about in terms of automation, we're talking about in terms of uh, programming. Yeah, we're talking about in terms of more on the automation phase. So Microsoft Graph API is more on a separate management interface. Okay, it is giving you option that you can have your Azure AD PowerShell. You can manage your MS online, right? Exchange PowerShell. You can have it. You can have SharePoint APIs that you can manage SharePoint. We have Teams API through which we can manage Teams. Azure security, all these we have different APIs which are there. So these APIs are created or fragmented so that automation experiences can be better. Okay, you can achieve things without going one by one in the tool, in Intune, going to one by one creating identities, securities, endpoints and all. You don't need to do that. Okay, so that's why these APIs are in this environment, so you can manage. So if you are, for example, if you're creating any application, right? If you're creating any uh, for example, you're using any trading application, okay? For example, Grow, or maybe you can take it Angel One or Zerodha, whatever. Okay, so what they do, they already accessing those APIs which are already exposed by the exchange. Okay, what they're doing, they are utilizing those APIs. For example, uh, I am I currently created my account, right? And after creating my account, I am going to buy one of the stock. Okay, that stock is of Infosys, for example. Now, what I'm doing here, I am adding money in my account in my wallet. Then I am selecting that stock. Then I'm choosing how many stock in numbers I need. Then I am placing that order. As soon I click on that button to place the order, there is an API which is being called. That API is going to connect to the exchange and checking the exact amount, whether that Infosys stock is at that amount or not, whether that is available or not, and whether that is listed, what is the amount of that. Then it goes and grasps that amount, whatever I have added. Okay, in comparison to, it will do the calculation in between in the background, and it will identify how many stocks should I be purchased in that lump sum amount which I have added, right? Then from the API itself, it will go and purchase that stock for me, and it will add that stock in my application, and it will show me all the time that I have purchased this stock. This is the ranking currently, maybe, and this is how the fluctuation of the price is going to happen, and whether it's a profit, whether it's loss, and everything, I can track it down. So how this is happening? Because of the APIs. Okay, so all these APIs are connected to each other, which is talking. So Graph is basically a REST API. Okay, what is this called? REST API. So REST is a representational state transfer application programming interface. Okay, that is what called REST. So REST is representational state transfer application programming interface. Okay, API's full form is application programming interface. Okay, so let's come back to the slide. Okay, let's understand. So we are talking about now integration. Okay, how we can have integration, how we can utilize a unified gateway of Microsoft 365 services, which includes your Intune, Microsoft Intune, Microsoft Teams, your Entra, your Outlook, everything. You can connect all these services we can connect to, and we can utilize it as a developer. So as an IT admin, we don't need to do everything one by one. Okay, I mean, uh,
இல்ல நான் சொன்னேன்.
Okay, so how we can utilize this as an integration, how this integration is going to work. Okay, we're going to talk about it. Okay, so let's understand what is called API and what is called graph. So API stands for Application Programming Interface, as we just discussed. So this is an interface which is giving you a controlled interface through which we can connect to different set of applications or services. Okay, we can request the data, we can give them actions to perform. Okay, so it will act as an intermediary or intermediary, sorry, uh, so intermediary protection layer, so that it can connect to two different services. Like if you have a third party application which does not have access to your backend database, right? For example, directly cannot do anything, but what you can do through the API, you can submit a request. Once that request is getting approved, then you are able to perform any services or any rule that you want to do, any anything that you want to enforce, you can perform through it, and this will give you a structured response. Okay, so these structured responses are coming in JSON. So let's understand this. Like this is a wall. Okay, and this wall is called as API. Okay, this called as API, which is letting you to talk to the data. Okay, we have different set of data which is available here. Now as an Intune or as a IT admin, I won't be able to directly communicate with these data, so we require a controlled interface, that is what called API, Application Programming Interface, through which I can perform. So for example, I have a Power BI dashboard. Okay, this is a Power BI. Okay, this is a dashboard. Now I want to fetch data for this Power BI dashboard every month. Maybe every month or every week, I want to populate some data so I can talk to my client. I can showcase in a weekly stand up call, or maybe we have a monthly stand up calls with client, so I can get it. How I can get it? I don't want to do it manually. Okay, so as an automation expert, what I'll do, I'll create an application which is going to this API. Okay, and going to connect to these database. Okay, fetching the information and taking it back to my Power BI dashboard. So every month I don't need to do manually anything. Okay, from the backend database, uh, this application is going to get the data. Okay, and then it is going to submit that request, and once the request is approved, it is going to populate that data back to my Power BI dashboard, right? So that's what it says. Think it like a hole in the wall. Okay, it is like it's a hole in the wall. Okay, through which we are going to see what is there outside. Okay, and if I need to reach out, we need to voice out from that hole, telling that okay, I'm mistake. For example, you are caught in your room and you're just it's locked out, you're not able to unlock it, you're not able to open the doors from inside. So what do, you'll open the window, you will scream out, you will say someone who's nearby, you'll say like, please help me out, I'm stuck in this hotel or house. I think I'm locked out. Can you please unlock it? I'm not able to. My key's not working, or maybe something went wrong. Or maybe someone is kidnapped. Okay, okay. So at that moment, so we require this intermediary protection layer, so which that is going to, now because of this hole, okay, we are very restricted, because there are certain certain policies which restrict you to performing certain action or task or requesting the data, which should not violate it. Okay, so what you can do, you can perform using these APIs, you can connect to different from different programming languages. You can connect to it. Okay, and you can request the data in any form that you want. Majority of the time it is returning in the JSON format. Okay, we'll talk about what is JSON. So graph is something is there to enhance the security, ensuring that the product protected query is only going to come and whatever data is requested, that should come in a organized manner. Okay, it's a tool through which you can interact and change the data in a service. So whatever you requesting, if you need, you can change it to your required or customized way of communication. You can maintain it, right? You can you can request for any, like you have a more manipulated database, right? And you want to make all this in a structured response so that your resources can, utilize this and can show that data in more beautiful manner, right? So that's why we request you, we need to have this API sort of, and through which we are going to connect, right? Then REST API calls. So how we are going to use Graph? Graph is going to request something in a REST API call. Okay. What is called REST API? We talked about already. REST is something representational state transfer, right? So what is going to do? It is going to request anything in a call format. Okay. For example, you need to call to your friend. What do? You just pick up your phone, dial the number, and just connect to your phone, right? This is your phone, right? So what do? You just dial some one number and just you press the call button. Same thing is going to happen. If I need to get something from API, okay, what I'm going to do, I need to request a call, and in that, what that API is going to understand in which language. This is going to understand in a REST. Okay, REST is a representational state transfer. So same, you are using Airtel network or whatever network you're using, right? That having encryption methods that having their own language in which they are going to communicate, right? It's all gets into whatever communication you're going to do, that was all going to be encrypted, and it will be de-encrypted by the recipient who's going to answer your call, right? Whatever communication, if you see, like if you have noticed WhatsApp ads and all, they say like they are sending, or if you have your WhatsApp installed, you could see that yes, it says that your data is almost encrypted. We're not able to see your data, whatever calls you're making or whatever you are communication you're doing, we are not able to see. These all are encrypted. So that's why everything that we are making to API to make certain things, that goes into a call format. Okay, and we gets the data in return, whatever that we have asked. Okay, so whatever data we are requesting, that will be returned in a get format. Okay, and that will go through a call format. Okay, now we'll understand what is REST, what is OData, what is HTTP verbs, and what is JSON. Okay, all these talks about everything, how the communication is happening, what is the data, how the data is format, and everything we're talking about. Okay, so Microsoft Graph is a unified REST API. Why is unified? Because it's available. It is single API or REST API through which we can connect to multiple services. Okay, if you remember this plane, okay, we just talked about it. Like we have different destinations and services, right? So if you want to reach out to users, you want to reach out to groups, devices, applications, policies, compliance, anything that you want to connect, or there are more Microsoft services you want to connect. So Microsoft Graph is going to connect you. Just think it like a different what do you say, countries. Okay, so you want to travel from Mumbai to Singapore, or maybe you just wanted to go to Europe. So these are the airports. Just think it like these are the airports, and Microsoft Graph API is going to take you to these airports. So for example, I want to reach out to London. I'll be getting down at Heathrow, right? Heathrow Airport. So for that, I want to use Microsoft Graph API through which I can reach out to these airports. Okay, and I can go and do my job, right? How it's this particular plane is going to be flown. There are two engines which are there, which is PowerShell engines. Okay, that is going to drive. Who's going to drive this? Who's the pilot for this, right? So those people who having enough what do you say, privileged, like admin or IT team, or you can also schedule it, like you can take it to autopilot mode, like you can schedule and trigger, you can create one application, then you can schedule it for a certain time, and it will go get it will connect to API, it will get the data, it will take it back, and it will populate, like we talked about the PowerShell. We talked about Power BI dashboard, right? Same thing, we can also look for something if you want to create some alerts. Okay, if there is any alerts keep on coming and you want to keep an eye on that. For example, in your organization, you might have seen P1 and P2. So we used to get alert for that. If there is any P1 came, so we straight away get an event or alert showing. Event is something like if there is any in some suspicious activity have performed, so there will be one event log generated, or there will also be event generated that will correspond to any P1 or P2. Also, there will be some false alerts, some positive alerts. Okay, those all coming. Then data, if you want to collect data, you want to connect it to or convert it to CSVs, whatever. You want to connect to APIs. So all these APIs can also talk to Microsoft Graph API, right? Or you have some service desk workflow you want to create, that can also, you can do it. So all this input will be taken by these people. Okay, they can drive this Microsoft Graph. Okay, what sort of control tower here, or what sort of control that we can restrict to monitor the operations and ensuring that everything is working fine. So either you can create a script. Okay, that PowerShell script will have some modules, okay, that going to interact with this Graph API. Okay, you can also create some variables, some loops, conditions, okay, that will handle the complex business logic. Okay, we'll talk about it. We can also perform some bulk operations. For example, I want to create I want to create bulk users. I just wanted to import bulk users information. I want to delete bulk users. I want to extract the compliance data for in a bulk. Okay, that I can do. And if I want to integrate any particular database, email, or any external APIs, or any webhook that I want to use, so that integration can also be performed using the PowerShell, right? And then I can also schedule something that goes on like as a function or Azure automation. That function is going to run as per the schedule. It's going to interact with API and getting the data from. Okay, also we can extract a report. For example, I want to generate a report which is going to be in CSV or something, or in HTML format, with nicely crafted dashboard, and that I would design for me to visualize what is happening in my environment, right? So that I can also do. Plus error handling. So if I'm getting any error log, if there is any false alert or any positive alerts, all this, from operation perspective, I can do it from here, right? So what would be the output? Output would be, so if I want to update resources, for example, I want to change some compliance policy, right? I don't want to get into my Intune portal and I go to my devices, and from there I go to my configuration, and then I choose that policy, and then I go and update that policy straight away from outside. Also I can do it using Graph API. Okay, I can leverage all those reports. I can create insights. I can do automation. Certain actions I can automate, like for example, retiring a device. Okay, so I can retire, instead of going to my Intune, I can create a PowerShell script that will automatically go figure it out how many devices are there which are non-compliant, which are not checked in from this state to this state, maybe a month or so, and I can directly run a retire command, and I can retire those devices directly from my console. Okay, that I can do. I can also bring some notification if I want. Okay, and I can make better decisions according to these dashboards or automation piece, right? So everything we can do it from here. Now in real world example, what sort of things that you can perform, if you notice that you might be seeing there are multiple non-compliant devices which are there. Okay, so for you to make your life easy, you can easily go using the Graph API. You can run this non-compliant devices report, and that way you can export it report, and you can show this to your boss or your client, that okay, these are the non-compliant devices which are there in the system, and I want to take action against it. Let me know, do I need to do a follow with these users? Do I need to drop an email stating that if you do not action on time, maybe in 7 days or 4 days, 3 days, whatever, we will remove your device from our database. Okay, so from our Intune, so that we can do. some stale device cleanup. So you may see that there are some devices which are not synced. For example, there are some users who are having two laptops. Okay, maybe they are having three Android phones in which there are two of corporate and one is personal. So he is not using all of three, but he's using only limited, one or two devices. Those devices are not syncing. Those devices are more than 35 days. So what we can do, we can create a review list and we can also do a cleanup for these stale devices, right? For your user
Vaibhav,
onboarding. Yep.
I have one question over here.
Hmm.
Suppose we have created this, right? And we have set up a automation plan for retirement of devices, right? Which is
Mhm.
not a sync or which is not being used from last 60 days, right? So
Okay.
in my project, what we do, we will just send a communication to the user, right? That is
Hmm.
this device has not been active from this. Either you are
Hmm.
going to use this or you are just going to please reply to that, right? Like that we have a
Hmm.
sender
Hmm.
communication. So is it
Hmm.
possible to send this communication automatically rather than sending over a mail manually?
We can send yes.
Okay,
You're talking about
through that
emails, right?
yeah, yeah. That is, suppose XYZ is a user and he is not using his device from last 60 days, right? So he will just get a automated email over there,
Mm-hmm.
and once he will not receive any update, and we will just
Yes.
wipe this or
Yes. Yes.
retire
Yes.
this. Is it
So
possible?
Intune, so yes, from Intune itself, it does not use Graph API to send these generic emails, right? This engine is going to be used using the Graph API plus Intune data. You can combine both together. You can have a built an automation, okay, that will send email communication through the Exchange Online or Outlook, okay, through which we can send the communication using the separate API, right? That is the API name is called, I think, mail.send, something that you can use, and you can set some permission and then you can send emails. So what it will do, it will query in Intune devices, okay, through the Graph API. It will identify those devices which comply, which having a compliance state is equal to non-compliant, okay. So then it will pick the user's email address, okay, it will generate a customized message and then it will call that Graph API and it will post that email to that user. So I'll show you, maybe if I can share that with you. I'll definitely show you how we can send an email directly from Graph API. So there is one important point here when you're talking about this control plane, right? So Intune is going to provide your endpoint management data or whatever action we are going to use, and then Exchange Online we can utilize it for actual mail delivery, right? So mail
Okay.
API we are going to use and we can send it. So I'll show you, like when you are in the demonstration, we'll talk about, just keep me reminded. We'll do this tomorrow. So how we can set the permission and how we can send that email. Okay.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So I was talking about this user onboarding. So every now and then you see that there are a couple of users which are onboarded and offboarded, right? So how you can track all these, and what about the licenses, right? Licenses are very critical. So to ascertain that yes, our licenses are being utilized fully. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you
One
now.
second. I'm switching my Wi-Fi. One second. I think there was some fluctuation. Okay, let me quickly share my screen one more time. Okay, what I was talking about. So yeah, so that example we will do when you're doing the demonstration. I think we got disconnected here when we're talking about this. Okay. Now let's come back. So we talked about different mechanism through which we can automate things. We talked about licenses, where we were talking about how we can assign a license, how we can revoke the licenses if the user is no longer with the organization, and we can certainly deploy applications and policies. Everything you can do it from here. bulk app assignment. So you can in bulk you can assign Microsoft 365 applications to a certain department using your graph API and automation from the PowerShell. All this we can do. And Intune reporting is the main essential part where we can directly fetch the data for compliance and different policies, report everything. We can schedule it, and that we can keep on getting it from here. Some of the automation remediation that can also be performed, like for example, you want to take some remote actions, you want to bulk sync for the devices, you want to bulk restart the device, you want to wipe it out, you want to retire, based on the conditions, everything that you can populate, you can make this from automation. And for the new joiner or mover or lever, okay, all this we can automate entirely. A life cycle for Entra ID. So all those people who are new joiners who are going to come, so we can onboard them. Okay, we can assign the policies, everything we can do it from here. Then if someone is moving, so we can revoke all those licenses, and after they left organization, we can certainly block their accesses and other piece of thing, right? We can do it from here. So as an architect perspective, we will design everything, and we will design only once, okay, and then we will automate it. So wherever we go, we're going to automate it. So Microsoft Graph is going to give you access of automation, and PowerShell is giving you the power, right? We talked about this is PowerShell is an engine. So that's how we can receive the ultimate decision whatever you're making. Okay, so let's come back to the slide. Okay, so we talked about REST API. Then this is which for the developer experiences. Why? Because mostly the developers are going to utilize it, because APIs and all we are going to utilize in our applications. If you are setting up, like we talked about Zerodha and other applications like the finance ones, through which we can connect to multiple APIs, you know or maybe if you're having any different application altogether. I'm just taking an example as a stockbroker or some application which we are going to use, and which is being utilized at the fully stage. Maybe you can take it as an example of make my trip. Okay, or you just take an example of any traveling website. Maybe you can take it IRCTC, or you take it like confirm kit. Okay, all these application or website, what they're doing is they are, for example, confirm kit. I want to look for the train status. Okay, I want to see how many seats are available for my Tatkal fare. So I can directly enter my dates, enter my class, and I can submit it. As soon as I click on submit, it is going in the backend, it is going to connect to our REST API, through which, using that connection, it is going to fetch whatever information I want. So now when I talked about this is a wall, and in this wall we have some hole, right? In this hole, this is what called API. Okay, this is what called API. So now what we are doing here, anything that I want, so I have very restricted requirement, like from this date to this date only, in this class and in this train. Okay, I want the information. So what is going to do, it is going to give me the data from that particular API in between whatever information I want. It is not giving me the whole data, it is not giving me the entire booking history for that train, right? It is going to give me only the selected piece of information which I'm requiring. So that's where we are using this API to run this in the backend services and connect the data and get the data from it, right? So in Intune context, if you're talking about, so from client for Graph API, first of all, we need to authenticate. Okay, once we have authenticated, then we are going to get all those REST APIs. Okay, these are going to carry all your request, whatever information you are posting to, and then in return, this is going to give you the information or the services requirement that you requested, that is coming as a result. Okay, so now we requested, we posted some information. Okay, this Graph API received it. Now Graph API is going to return me information. This information is going to come in a format called OData. Okay, it's coming to in OData. We'll talk about what is this OData in just a minute. Okay, so now from Microsoft Graph API, what we can do, first we can connect. Okay, once we connect it, then we can extract the data in a powerful source whatever you information you want, you can get it directly. You don't need to do it manually every time. Okay, once it's automated, it's already automated. Now you see, understand the flow, how things works here. So for example, this is your entire picture. Like these are the security providers. Okay, these can also be accessed through your graph API, right? From the data and action perspective, if you see, there is a Microsoft Graph Security API layer. Now if I want to extract information, for example, I want to look at some alerts, I want to create some security profiles, right? I want to act for certain actions, or I want to create some configuration, that I can do from Intune perspective. If I want to access users, groups, mail, files, calendar, whatever, okay, all these Microsoft Graph services are available that we can interact, right? How this information is being populated, there are two mechanisms which runs parallelly, hand in hand. One is for the authentication, right, which is called OAuth, and the OpenID Connect. So OpenID Connect is for your authentication, OAuth is for your authorization. Okay, so whenever you, so OpenAuth is something, for example, I have given you authentication that you are allowed to go to the third floor, right? But on the third floor, are you allowed to get inside a separate room, or are you allowed to get inside a dedicated ODC which is on the third floor? No, right? So your authorization is not there. Your authentication is valid, that you are employee of the company and you are authorized, you are authenticated, you are an employee of the company, and you can go to the third floor. Maybe you're just going for drinking water. Okay, you just wanted to chill out. You want to sit in the relaxed room, whatever that you have. But on the third floor, there are multiple ODCs as well, which you're not supposed to get inside, right? So you don't have authorization. So for that, OAuth 2.0, this authorization is being used. So it will help you identify whether you are the right candidate, whether you should have the appropriate access given or not, right? So that is what authorization. Then we have some supported SDKs that we can use. Now we talked about this different languages, like we have Xamarin, we have JavaScript, Angular, okay, PHP, Android, iOS, all this Python we talked about, like Python we are using in our Intune. So all this we can use to create your sample code, integrate. These SDKs are available that we can connect to your Microsoft Graph API, and you can leverage it. You can give certain commands, and that will go to your Graph API, and Graph API is going to take it to further connecting to further services, right? So I hope this particular flow is easy to understand. First, you are going to this sample supported SDK. Okay, you are integrating with your PowerShell. For example, we talked about Python, and then we have PowerShell also. So we are going to connect to that SDK. We are going to utilize that SDK. We are installing that in our environment. Like if you're using PowerShell, so I'm going to get the PowerShell SDK. I'll install it my PowerShell. Then I'm going to authenticate myself, okay, to connect to this Graph API. Once I'm connected and authorized, so for example, I just ran a command. Maybe I'm just running a command called get or connect to Microsoft, connect to gateway, or get MG user, something like that. I'm just going to give a random command. I am connected, I am authenticated, I'm fine. Now I need to utilize these services. So how would I do that? So for that, I need to connect to this Microsoft Graph API. Okay, from there I need to put something. I need to give command. Like there are multiple HTTP operations that we going to use. Like we have get, we have post, we have patch, we have put, then we have delete. Okay, all this information they are there. So we can use this HTTP, okay, through which we are going to connect and get the information in a JSON format. Okay, JSON format is something called JavaScript object notation. Okay, so now we are connected to security or API, and then from API we are having access to all these services that we can access to now. But there are restrictions, right? For example, I am connected to I gave my authentication, my authorization is there, right? I'm now connected to my Graph API. Now to access this user's particular information, I need to authorize my account so that I can go and read all the information about the users. Same thing happening here for you for groups also. If I need to read group information, I need to give it a certain authorization so that I can read this group information. Okay, so that is how it is restricted. It is not like yes, you are connected to your Graph API and you are ready to go anything you are going to uh, you know disrupt the information, the environment. No, there are certain authorization, there are certain piece of information that will of course stop you from accessing everything, right? So now easy to understand, from Graph API we can access all these cloud applications, okay, and all those services, right? Maybe sometime you feel like okay, your Intune console is down, okay, it's not working out, or it's not giving the real time data. Okay, at that moment what you can do, you can also connect to Intune from the Graph API from the backend. Also you can connect to your Azure services from the backend, and you can get all the information on the device itself. Okay, so from anywhere you can just go and connect to your Graph API, and you can manage things, and you can also get information from Entra ID and everything. You can take it from there. Now let's talk about this Graph API. So for example, this is the actual path through which you're going to access your Graph API. Okay, so Graph API is going to request your information in a REST form, right? Then the data which is being transmitted or being requested, that will come in O data. Okay, I just talked about it. Just let me type in. This will come in O data. Okay, O data. So this O data is called Open Data Protocol. Okay, this is Open Data Protocol. What is going to this is going to do? This is going to define how the requested data is being queried and filtered. For example, we are requesting one information for a particular user, okay, whose name begin with for example, his name is, let me type in. Okay, I'm just going to request a user, okay, users whose name starts with T. Okay, I'm just going to request it. So for this specific particular later, I will select a specific properties from my resources. Okay, and that resource is going to give me a information that will be returned in a format called JSON. Okay, so for example, you are going to, how would I say, you, you are just querying something, right? You want to you're requesting something. For example, you are requesting to a machine. Okay, for example, you are going to book a movie ticket. Okay, so you are requesting that I want a ticket for my 4 friends. Okay, and I want a gold ticket. Okay, for example, you're saying gold ticket. So what is going to produce in a format, it is going to give you on the screen that this these are the seats. Okay, these are the seats which are available for your 4 friends that you can book. Okay, and it gives you option something, it's called F1, something like this. Okay, and that is giving to F1, F2, something like this. And so you are not actually receiving the data in terms of saying yes or no. Okay, yes, seats are available, please let me know which seat you want to book. It is giving you this complete breakup, the entire theater format. In that is giving you the seat, like these seats are available, these 4 seats are available. What do? You just check these, okay, and you select it. So likewise, we have a JSON as well. So JSON is going to give you JavaScript object notification. This is giving you a structured format. Okay, it is going to give a structured formatted data in return. That data, you can see what is there in the objects, what is there in array, in key values, everything, like, and then later on you can pair it accordingly and you can produce another set of results. Okay, so JSON is something we'll just click away after for this demonstration. We'll do the demonstration tomorrow, we'll talk about everything. So Graph API, I'll just show you how does this look like today. Okay, so in that, whenever you are returning anything, we'll receive in a JSON format. Okay, we'll talk about JSON format, don't worry about it. Like now, for example, we are querying users, we are querying groups and all. So we have different for these different purposes, we have some Intune oriented uh, path that we can going to access. So from here, for example, if you're just going for graph.microsoft.com, right, and next if you say that I want to look up for the devices, okay, so the format will something look like this. Okay, I'll just type in. So the format will look like something this. It will show you https colon, okay, then it will talk about graph.microsoft.com. Then there is a v1.0. Okay, we'll talk about that. What is this v1? Okay, and then this is going to give you the users data. Okay, through this URL we are going to interact with graph basically, and we are telling that okay, this is the lowest level at this point of time. We are at the lowest level. Okay, we are going to connect to Microsoft Graph API. We are going to talk in HTTP format, like we're going to get information, or you want to uh, post information. All this we're going to do. So first of all, we need to access this path so we can have list of all the users information I can see. Then I can talk what I need to do, whether I need to read that, uh, whether I want to update it, whether I want to create any user, whether I want to modify any user, whether I want to replace or delete. Okay, whatever we want, I can do it afterwards. Okay, first I need to get into the users directory. Okay, so same thing is going to happen here. Now we are talking about one endpoint, one token, all users. Now we don't need to produce, for all users we don't need to create separate connections, right? For separate services we don't need to create multiple tokens, right? Using one token, once we are connected to graph.microsoft.com, we are authenticated, then we are able to access all these different set of services which we can easily access. These are connected through cloud. Okay, so that way we can do. Now Graph Explorer, we talk about it. Graph Explorer is this graph.microsoft.com. Okay, that we are going to talk about it. This is the way through which you are going to connect to your Graph API. Okay, now this thing, the one which we talk about, the next we said like v1 or 0 beta. Okay, what is this all about? So this is a stable version, okay, which is written. So if you see v1.0, that is a stable version. Okay, and if you see beta, so beta is for those APIs request where which is not there in v1.0. Okay, so these are the API releases versions, okay, which is available that you can connect to. So for example, if I break it down, you're talking about this particular thing. Okay, this is what called endpoint. Okay, this is what called endpoint. So endpoint is basically through which all these services that is going to be addressed. So Microsoft Graph services are going to be addressed using this endpoint, right? Then we have something called version. Okay, version is mainly defined. That version is talking about this API release. Okay, API released version. So on that endpoint surface, whatever API that is being used, that will be having two versions only, either v1.0 or the beta. Beta is something which is in trial, which is in testing phase. v1.0 is version 1.0 is a stable version. Okay, so mainly we will go in v1.0 version to extract or request for the information. But for example, those APIs are not there. We are not able to manage our application, or we are not able to manage the information. Then we'll switch to beta version, right? Then something in the next, we have something called resources. Okay, these resources are the type of objects we are going to extract. For example, we talked about users, groups, sites and everything. So we will append this in the next line, and then this syntax is going to help us out and querying these particular resources, right? Then we have something called member. Member is something that is like when you're selecting one object within a collection, okay, that is what called member. So for example, a user, one group, one particular site, one device ID. You're going more granular, we're going more in detail. So that's what it's called is ID. So for example, you have your employee ID, right? So that employee ID is unique to you. So that is what it will come into ID. But if I search only for users, so in users, you will get all your list, and that list you will get your, this is all list. In this list, you are going to have your all these resources, right? Look, okay. Now in these all resources, if I need to append the ID, means I need to extract the ID of yours, okay, employee ID, then I will type some number, okay, 2 3 4 5 6, something like this is your employee ID. So this is going to help me from the users directory. It is going to give me exact person's detail, okay. That is what called member ID. Then we have something called property. Property is something when you are requesting a particular field or detailed, okay, details. For example, I from this employee ID, I want this person, in which department this person is currently working, okay, what is his email address, what is his phone number, okay, all this we are going to get in from the property. Then we have something called query parameter. Query parameter is something we are going to narrow down the result, okay, we are going to more in perspective of like we are having a user principal name filter, okay. For example, I want to utilize only 5 people, top people here, or we are just going to figure out using the user principal name like trainer at the rate anactens.com. So this is my UPN. Using that, I want to see only a particular information about that person, okay, I want to query it. Then we have something called formats. So these format and results, okay, these formats are actually giving you a select particular field, okay, from the list of the pool, right? So what we are doing when you're ordering something, okay, I can format a result. This from top 5, I want to select and only order by, and then is equal to, I can give the name of that person. So I can see that only these selected people's information is going to come, right? So that is what called format. So we can go more granular, we can go more in detail, but currently to obtain more deeper details about the objects and all, we can use this multiple navigation, right? If I give example, how does a graph API look like? So if you see here down, we have just queried one http.graph.microsoft.com version 1. In the users, I have given a filter which is user principal name, that is equivalent to trainer at the rate then my tenant ID, okay. So that way I can go get more deep into that particular object, and I can get to see what is happening inside of that, or what is happening with that particular what do you say query, okay, for that person. So that is how we can go and get the request from Graph API. And Graph API is also helping you to traverse related resources, which is using the navigation. So now we can get more in. For example, you might have a folder, okay, you might have a folder on your Windows desktop, right? For example, this is a folder. Now inside this folder you already have one more folder, and this folder you have one more folder, and then we have already one folder. In this folder you have your one important file, right? So that is what called traverse. Means you are going to one block, then you are going to different set of blocks, then different, then you're reaching out to the one that is you actually require. So that is what called granular, like you're going more in detail, you're going more in depth, and then you are fetching the information from it, right? So that is what called traverse. All right. So from query format, we have these type of HTTP endpoints or components, query components, you can call it out. These query components are available so that you can fetch the important data. For example, if I'm saying get, means I'm talking about pull. Okay, get means I wanted to get the data, right? So from Graph API, if I'm putting something in get format, it is going to return the data into a JSON format. Okay. If I say I want to post something, I want to add something in my directory or data, I want to use post. Okay, so that post, we are going to give the information what I want to post, and this is going in return. This is going to give me a JSON format, right? Then if I say I want to put means something. Put means something I want to add or replace something which is there already existing. I just wanted to replace it with the entire new policy you want to replace, or you want to uh, change something, you can use put. Okay. Then we have something called patch is mainly used to update whatever the selected properties of an existing resources. For example, I have a device restriction and I want to change the minimum operating system version, so I can do a patch here. Using that patch, I can change the version, okay, the format that I want to change, and accordingly I can put that patch, and then data is going to be using that API. It is going to be updated in backend in your Intune using the Graph API, and it will return in JSON format that yes, this has changed the minimum operating system of the version, or maybe anything that you want to update, you can do it. Delete is something which is very straightforward, like you want to remove a resource. For example, I want to remove a device, so I can simply go and put delete and just take out those. Now we have some HTTP verbs, like for get, we have fetch or read. If you're getting 200 status code, means that your get command has successfully ran, right? Then we have something called post. Post is something where it is talking about when you're creating any new information, you need to use post. Okay. Post is something when you're creating a new resources, you need to give the format in the JSON body. Okay. In that JSON body, you need to mention everything, and then using that post, you can create a policy, right? Patch is something we already talked about, like we are modifying anything which is existing, right? For example, I want to change the device restrictions. So in device restriction, as I said, we have some minimum operating system version criteria, which I want to upgrade it to next version. Maybe I'm currently using 24H2. I want to change it to 25H2 now, or 26H1, whatever you want. So you can make it accordingly, right? Then we have something called delete. Delete is straightforward. It is going to delete. So we will have all this. We will have a status code coming, right? 200, 201, 204, 204 here also. So this is telling you that these are the success. Okay. Then we have something called put. Put is something when you're replacing an existing resources. Okay. Whatever you have assigned, you just wanted to change that or replace it with the different set of information, right? So I can make this happen using this query format. Okay. Now, what are the requirements here with your Entra, with your Graph API when you're using it? So first of all, you need to have a sufficient privilege, means that you need to have a Entra global admin. Okay, that is the first thing. And if you're using any application in your tenant, then that application tenant should have a proper consent. Okay, that I'll show you how you can set a proper consent so that your application can freely run without getting any interruption. Okay. Then you require appropriate permission for the scope. So for scope you're talking about here. So as I said, like I am just scoped for the user. Okay. I don't have a scoped here for group. So I don't have permission. Then I cannot get in that scope. Okay. I cannot talk to my group's data. I can only go and talk to my users because the permission and scope is set for my users only. It is not there for others, right? So that is what we can do here. Next, what we can do, we can have the Graph API, okay, supports. So we will talk about, there are some paging information, right? So often it requires some thousands objects, that is per page, that we can get it. Okay, we can return these information in the paging format that we will get whenever you are running any query, that will come in JSON format, and then JSON result comes in a particular paging navigation, like we can set off these 1000 objects format. Then we have something called Graph API supports batching. So if you want to do multiple, commands in a one batch, and you want to run and execute them in a faster way, that's, of course, you can do it. Okay, you can make it run in a format like that. And in Intune, we want to delegate some permissions. So if for Intune, if you are doing some application, you want to that application go and run that particular users. Okay, so you require that application or user to give some delegated permission. And this, there is a certain rule that you can ring fenced that users to, they should not go beyond that limit or restrictions. You can put some restrictions, so according to those permissions, only certain things they can perform. For example, in my RBAC, I have created a help desk engineer permission role, and that user, help desk users are not allowed to run any remote action. Okay, they are not allowed to do any wipe or delete for the device. So using the Graph API, also if they're using it, they are restricted for that certain RBAC rules. Okay, they cannot do anything. Then all this API supports the auditing as well. So if there is any event, gets logged, that can also be, captured. If there is any changes that happens, you can also capture those, and you can, enumerate what is actually happening, right? So these permissions, you can give it like to read only, view it, all this permission that you can do. So they, for example, if they want to modify some Intune policies, and if I've given only view permission or read permissions, and I have not given any edit permission, so it will not allow them to change anything. So once the user is authenticated, is still the request will fail. Why? Because the permission is not granted. Okay. Then we have many APIs now in V1 version, but beta is something, is still like, beta is always there for the new features. Okay, it's always keep constantly being updated. It is as good like if in your environment, if you're looking for any console upgrade, or if you're doing anything you're going to update, yeah, right, you don't want to go to the latest version. You, for example, in Windows also, if you, there are 26H1 also, but you don't want to go to that. You still want it to n-1. You want to still be there on 25S2. You don't want to go with 36H1. Why? Because that is not stable, right? So likewise, this is how it look like if you go to akka.ms.g. Okay, this is the shortcut through which you can access this console, and then you can connect to Graph API after giving the required authentication and authorization. So once you are signed in, it will, like from the Graph Explorer, it will obtain all the information, and then there will be access token that will be available. So using that, you can make a request. So authentication, as I talked about earlier as well, authentication, so there are two things which is going to come. One is who, okay, and another one is what, right? So authentication is going to touch on this who option. Okay, this is authentication. Okay, authentication is going to check who is that guy who's going to manage things, right? Who's making a request. Then what is called this is what is called your authorization. Okay, authorization is technically, they're talking about what identity is allowed to access. Okay, so a valid sign-in does not mean that it will automatically grant you permissions to read mails, enumerate devices, or make changes in Intune policies, modifying them all. No, it will give you only authentication, but you require a required permission. If that is missing, that user, even though it's authenticated, he will not be able to get anything, right? He will land up with this error message. He will land up with the error message that is called 403. Okay, he will be landed here, is called 403, which is called forbidden. Okay, which means that he is not allowed access, or he is trying to attempt something, and without having sufficient privileges or consent, he will not be able to modify anything. So for any modification, he requires certain permission, and once the permission is there, then he will be able to once he is consented, then he will be able to make changes. So always remember, you require unnecessary permissions to be granted. Okay, this is how the graph API look like? Okay, if you go to https aka.ms.g, this is how it look like. Okay, and now if you see, there are certain tabs here. One is called request body, okay, and one is called request headers, modify permission, and access token. Okay, so these are the different sets. Now if you're saying request body is something that it will be not used for get request. So this is how you see the drop down here, right? This is the drop down, and this is the v version. Okay, now you can, from the drop down, if you want to make get request or put or patch or delete, all this we can take it here. From here we are going to change v1.0 or beta from this. And this is something like whenever you are sending any data, okay, whenever you're, for example, I'm just saying me, okay, so what is going to give you, it is going to give me the data exactly what is that I have requested. Okay, uh now request header is something whenever I'm sending anything, okay, I'm sending any request, so it will take me to that authorization page. Okay, and this is where I can read it out, what is there in the request headers, right? Then we have something called modify permissions. So whenever I'm saying I have a scope, right, I'm going to users profile, I'm going to access to users or maybe in devices, so I need to modify certain permissions. Once the permissions are given, then only I'll be allowed to access it, right? Then I'll be allowed to scope and get the information for that particular scope. Okay, then access token is something, it's a security key which is proving that yes, you are allowed to make the request, and this is going to be auto handled as soon you are like authenticated, you are signed in, you are going to get this access. Okay, so now there are different set of queries, okay, that we can run, and we can populate, we can see what exactly going to happen. We are going to just run some of the queries. Let's talk about these queries. Let's understand how the graph API look like. Okay, I'll just open this aka.ms.g. Let me just open this. Okay, so https aka.ms/g, and I'll just press enter. Okay, and let me see which one I'm logged in right now. Which tenant is it? Okay, you're logged in with Scott. Okay, so see, this is how it will look like. Okay, and if I click on here, so I'm not signed in right now. Okay, I'm not signing, just I'll show you something like this. First of all, so I typed a command. Okay, I'll just type in here. Okay, okay, we typed here https, okay, aka.ms/g. Okay, so this G is taking us to developer.microsoft.com. So this is a shortcut. Okay, this is the shortcut. Using that, you can connect to your Graph Explorer. Okay, G stands for Graph Explorer. So now we're going to talk about this page, and let me zoom here. If you see, we just talked about, right, get. If I just click the drop down, okay, it is going to tell me all this developer tool. Okay, it's giving me all this information. We talked about get when we are going to get information. Okay, post is something if I want to update anything, right? We just talked about it. Post is something when you are going to update, you're going to create anything, creating a new policy, something like that, then you're going to use it. Okay, then we are going to use put is something, it's always almost is there, you're just going to update or append it. Okay, you're making some changes, maybe you just talked about the device restriction policies, right? uh, we can also replace any entire policy, right? If anything that you want to change, you can make that change here. Then we have something called patch is something when you are changing, like we talked about device restrictions, or you have any other policies that you want to change it. Okay, you want to update that, so you can do the patch from here, right? Delete something which is very straightforward, which is just going to delete that particular resources. Okay, now in the left hand side, you see there are 340 result which is available. This is the getting started. So if you're not handy, if you're not comfortable, you can simply just go getting started. You can look these items, okay, first. Once this is you're comfortable with, then you can go. There are endless options available that you can seriously you can go and explore all of these, okay. For example, if I want to look up some compliances, okay, so I can see there are different categories. Like for get, I can list all the discovery cases. I can list review sets, all this. Like post is there. Post is something when you're creating something new, so you can create a custodian, okay. Then we have something called groups, okay, so I can list all groups information. Post means I can create a new group. I can delete some groups, okay. I can look up some post for add favorite groups. All this information directly you can do, rather than I need to go to my console. I create something here. So all this. Then we have something called batching as well. So if I need to perform parallelly some information, for example, I want to combine post and get. So if I want to post something, which means that I want to create some new policy and I want to get whether that policy is successfully created or not, then I can do it in a batch format, okay. All this here. Then we have something called Microsoft in Teams. Also we can create team, we can create channel, we can create chat. All this information we can do it from here. Then OneDrive, you have Outlook, people, search, security, SharePoint, users. Okay, let's come to users here. So from here I can look at all the users which are there in my organization, right. I can look up my user details under me, okay. Patch, if I want to change anything, I can do it here. So let's do some demonstration, okay. First of all, let me sign in with my account, okay. Let me see, it's already logged in, so let me choose this one, okay. Now this is very important. Whenever you are signing into your Microsoft Graph API, okay, it is giving you, like we talked about, authentication and authorization, right. So now this is asking us to give us a permission. This permission is requested to access your data in NX, right. So I'm giving authorizing this ID Scott, so he can read the profile details, okay. And then maintaining access to data you have given it to access to. So if I'm giving this permission, then he is able to see whatever data is there in my Intune, and he is able to perform certain action with this permission, so he can update the data, okay. What I need to do, I need to give this checkbox consent on behalf of your organization, and then click on accept, okay. This is really important. Usually in your organization, maybe your security team will not allow you to use Graph Explorer, maybe because certain permissions are given to you which may violate, maybe because they stick to a manual process, okay. They don't want, until you are seriously, you are a programmer, you having good understanding about the programs skills, you have understanding about different APIs, how that API interacts in background, okay, how does that gets into data, how it fetches the data and all this information. Only then, and again there is some security fence. Without that you will not be allowed to access all this, right. So that's why it's very serious thing. When I mean, when you're doing the testing, do it on your test machines. Just take a look how things are working. But in our organization, certainly you require a good amount of permissions, approvals and everything, then you will be allowed to use it, okay. So now I'm just going to accept this, okay. As soon I'm accepted, you can see that I'm signed in, okay. You can see I'm currently signed in. It's showing me the Scott Smith and consent to permissions. If I click on that, so it will take me to another page, and it is now giving me a whole list of the consent, okay, that I can drive, okay. I can go to wherever I want. I can raise a consent from here, and once I have consent, I can do that scope, okay. For example, for device, I need to read the device, so there are 4 consent. If I need to run any consent, so you can see that there is no consent. There is one consent is given to create from your own template. There's one consent given for device read all, right. So I can read all the devices, but I won't be able to make any changes because the device command is not there, and this is a least privilege permission in the list, right. So all these permissions are really least permissions given. I mean, even though if it's there, you won't be able to manipulate anything in your environment. So you see that there are multiple scopes which are defined, and accordingly I can narrow down which scope I want to get into. For example, organization. So if I want to read everything about that organization, it's already there. Okay, I can read all the information. But if I want to, for example, if I want to make some changes, let me see if there is any scope. Yeah, for example, user. Okay, so I can do all this, but uh, certain activity, let me see if there is any remote action or there or not. Okay, I cannot, in activity I cannot read write by application. If I'm reading users information, then that will not be allowed because that permission is not given. Okay, so all this we're talking about different consent that you can give it. Now let me close it down. Okay, now come here. What you need to do, first of all, let's explore something. Let me give you some space, and let's do it on a full screen. Okay, and okay, now this is telling me that this is the by default list. If you see in the left, getting started, okay, it is talking about that this is my profile. If I click on get, okay, earlier you see that there was some logs in front of all these. Now those logs are gone. Okay, you see, because I'm currently signed in. Okay, so now let's talk about this one. Now I'm going to collapse it. Okay, let me run this query. Okay, so this is the JSON data. Okay, this is the JSON data, and this is what I was talking about earlier, the codes. Okay, we just talked about, right, 200 and 403, which is forbidden and all. So this is what called 200, and how much time does it took? It's took around 227 milliseconds. Okay, how that fast it is. And this is the data which we talked about it, that is what called JSON. Okay, this is what the JSON format, your JavaScript object notification. Okay, all this information is mentioned like this. Okay, for example, now I want to update mobile phone number. Okay, so which HTTP verb should I use? Okay, let me know, guys, which one should I use from here in the list?
Post.
Post is for the new query, right? If I need to create anything new, it's already there, right? So what I'm going to use, I'm going to either I can use put, okay, that will replace an existing resource, or I can use patch. Patch is something, it is going to change the information. Okay, so I'm going to use put here. Okay, let's see, and I'll just copy this data. Okay, but before doing anything, let's talk about, let's stick something. Okay, I just wanted to show you here. First of all, we talked about this. Now in request body, we don't see anything here, right? If you go to request header, okay, request header is going to show you what are the keys and everything. Now we have not used it anything, and if you go and get the read permissions, so okay, it's not, I don't want to come here, let's come back. Okay, so now it is talking about if you want to read the documentation, this is going to talk about, and if you want to share the query, you can click on this and you can share the query. Okay, now this was something we talked about, me profile. Okay, now if I see my mail, okay, so it will change these two messages. If I just go and read it out, it is giving me 404. Okay, because there is no emails which are associated with this account. Okay, the mailbox is either inactive or self deleted or is not hosted on premises, because I don't have any email, so it is not giving me this email information. Right now, if I say so it is also going to give me what are there on my drive. So I don't think there is anything on the drive. Okay, though item found, that is correct. Okay, what is my to-do list? Okay, so it changes to to-do list. If I go and query, so it is going to give me that, okay, I don't have any to-do list currently, which is going to be shown. Okay, and response header, it is also giving me that the application details written in JSON, and this is the client request ID. Code snippet, if you see that this is going to give you the code which is being used, okay, while running this graph agent or graph client. Okay, now you can see different codes in the different formats. For example, I'm going in PHP. If I go into PowerShell, this is going to because we don't have any information in Python. Also, we don't have anything. It's just return the get list. Okay, it's talked about like this is what uh, to-do list. I don't have any to-do list, of course, so I did not create it. And then toolkit is something which is not available in response, so toolkit is not there. Adaptive card is not needed. Okay, you don't need to. What is your takeout is this response preview. This is mainly important that you need to read it out. Okay, now let's go to users. Okay, let's go and look all the users information here. Now you see this has changed, and I just go and read the query. It's saying that either the signed in user does not have sufficient privilege, or you need to consent to one of the permissions, or you can go to on the modify permission. Okay, now you see this already given you error message says 403, means I don't have sufficient privileges to read all users details of my organization, right? So if I go to modify permission, it is going to give me that okay, all this is showing me no. Okay, if you can see this, it is showing me that user read basic all is showing me this is no. And it says from agent wise, if I'm just using any agent or something, that is also no. Okay, and other information, device management, other stuff is there. But for users, it is showing me here allow the app. If I'm using any app, then it says allow the app to read the full set of user properties of all this that. Okay, this is showing me that for application, okay, this is allowed. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'll just give a consent, basic consent here, so I can read enough information about all the users details. Okay, it is going to again give me query. Now this is very important. It is telling me what it's going to give you access to. It is going to allow the applications to read basic set of profiles, properties, and everything. View basic profile, maintain access to all this information. Now it is telling me to consent on behalf of your organization. So on behalf of my organization, I am giving this consent. Okay, it is not an individual consent I'm giving it on behalf of my organization, right? Now if I say accept, okay, so this is going to give me this consent. Okay, now it says it should change now. Okay, now let me run the query again. Okay, now you see this has changed to 200. Now if I go to my request body and if I go up, okay, now I can see that I have all the list of my users here in this JSON format. Okay, so this is what I was talking about, OData. We talked about this OData, right, already. OData is something your open data protocol. Okay, this is what is going to define what request you're going to run. Okay, whatever query or whatever filter that you're applying it, that will be run through the OData, open data protocol. Okay, so this open data protocol has run this particular graph query where we talked about metadata about the users, right? Then this has returned me the value that there is one user that is called annotations user, another user, let me see, this is also another user. Okay, I think this user is one, second user is cmnet 2 and 3, this is 4, this is 5, this is 6, this is 7, this is 8, this is 9, 10. Okay, test user 11, 10, 11, 12, okay, 13, like that. You see that all the information is here and all these users are now showing up. So this response is successful, that's why it's given me this error, this query code like 200. So that's how this query code I know that okay, whatever query that I'm running, that is appropriate, okay, with the result or with the details, right? Same thing is going to happen now. Let's go back. Okay, now we talked about everything, all users, organization, everything. Now for example, let's do a patch. Okay, in patch, see, What is this patch used for? As I said, like we need to update something, then we'll do the patch, correct? So now it is, if I clicked on patch, now it is giving me that I can update my organization, my department details, right? uh, it is saying that if you're using patch, my department will be changed something sales and marketing. Okay, I want to change this to leadership. Okay, I want to change this to anectance leadership. Okay, I just wanted to change my data. Nothing. I'm just going to run this query. Okay, we'll also validate in our Intune console. First of all, let's come out of it. Okay, let's go to users. Okay, and look for all users, look for Scott. Okay, and let's click on it. Okay, let's see what does it show for this guy. Okay, and let's go to edit properties. Let's see what does it say. Okay, all this information is there. If I go to job information, the department is showing as IT delivery. Okay, contact information is this, parental this. Okay, job information is showing as this IT delivery. Let's see if this gets changed or not. Okay, so yeah, so this should change to anecdotes leadership. Okay, technically this should change. Okay, let's do a run. Okay, now it's saying that signed user does not have a sufficient privilege, but because I did not given permissions to do this. So permissions for the query are missing on this tab. Open the permissions panel to see the full list of graph API permissions. Select the permission you want to consent to them from here. Okay, so what does it mean? That it is not allowing me to change anything. Now I need to go and click consent or permission. Okay, I talked about the users. Okay, user, let me see where we have user. Okay, and in this user we are just going to not read, we're just going to put something. Okay, so let's see, this is an activity, and let me go, and it's not export, it's not here. User
Permissions on the
write permission, just read and write, it's only there, read and write is there. User read, let me give a consent again, it's already there, not sure, let's try. Okay, so I should have read and write permission, and okay, so it's now here. Let's do it again. Okay, and so scope consent is now successful. Now go to this body, request body, and let me update it. Now it's showing me no consent is there. Okay, no consent is request header is something like this, and it seems like giving a green is 204, which confirms that yes, this has successfully ran. Let me just go and refresh. Let me see if that has changed or not. Okay, so it has changed to anecdotes leadership, right? So it with the green tick mark, which confirms that yes, it has changed. So now I didn't go to my graph, my Intune console. I did change and everything. Now, for example, I need to change this to for the bulk users. Okay, so all the users, I don't want to go one by one, I just go and change it. I can create a consent. Okay, I create in the request body whatever I want to patch, I can mention here, and I can simply add it, and just I run the query. In one shot, it is going to completely update all the information about my users, right? So that is how we can act on these queries, right? So graph endpoint structure is something, this is where we are going to talk about now this is something we did it from v1 version, right? v.0. Now if I go to beta, beta is just going to change this word. If you see, if I change this v1, it's just going to append that to beta, that's it. Okay, nothing going to be changed, but it's something that is going to give you additional features like additional APIs which is in testing mode, which is not yet made available in your v1.0. that is not so there is nothing, that there is no harm of using beta. It's just it's not a stable version, that's it. So if you want to run something and you want to be a more stable version, as we said, like n-1, so go with the v1.0 version. That is more what do you say, more stable and more friendly and utilized. And from the developer standpoint, if you are requesting something from the Intune portal, then go with the stable version, because you never know, like from beta, if you're calling out some APIs, if you just during the test it worked fine, right? But after that in the production it may fail. Okay, it may be that there are some issues coming. So that's why we are going to go with the stable version, which is where the request is absolutely in success. Okay, whatever responses that we are getting, that will be in a proper format in JSON, and there should not be any chaos at later stage. So v 1.0 is stable version, recommended for your organizational needs. If you're requesting anything, if you're making any required functionality which is there, of course v1.0 is there. Beta is something, it's very, use it cautiously, because it's in preview. There might be some syntax which you see now is working, they might change in later stages, so do not try. And whenever you are using any resources, right? For example, you talked about patch, put, delete and all. Do verify. Okay, as I said, like you need to verify all this in JSON, and just verify this in department queries. Everything is in a proper format, because if you are changing anything from patch, if you are updating anything, okay, which is existed, put, if you are creating anything, if you're deleting anything, right, you need to identify before applying these, because if you apply it, it is going to be in a bulk force. It is going to delete everything, right? It is going to patch everything. You won't be able to uh, in a position to fix that as soon as possible, because we need to rectify first of all what exactly that has changed. So these are very much important when you are treating with these STTP commands. Ensure that you are using it very precisely. Then granting your permissions, you require some for intended operations you require some permissions, and those permissions needs to be properly aligned. Okay, then you need to validate successfully that whatever changes that you have made through that API response, ensure that is also visible to your portal. As I said, like from IT department, I just changed this to NXT leadership. Now I see that it has been properly changed. Though it was one user, it was possible to make it. But for example, if I'm making it something for uh, in a bigger in a bulk request, then it won't be possibly able to revoke or change it, right? So that is how you need to make changes. Then for example, let me do one thing, let me create one post, and let me create a user here. Okay, and so read and write permission is already given. Now it is telling me unconsent, which means that it was yes earlier. I thought it's already there, because it's confusing. Like it's showing me that yes means that permission is there, but it also gives you option here for consent, which means that admin consent is required. I mean, yes, you can, but here some says no, which means that you do not require any consent. Okay, admin consent is not required. So when you have a consent, it will show up something like this. Okay, which was talking about like status is already consent is already given. You don't need to repeat the consent again for the same, right? All right, so let's talk about something users. Okay, and I said create user, so I can see that this JSON format is given. Okay, and it's talking about, okay, let's create a new user. Okay, now see, I want to create one user, and I'll just give it a name. Okay, so I'll just give it name something like uh, Mary La Rosa. Okay, and let me call it, okay, and she's a marketing director. Okay, and let me, okay, then I can also disable password expiration. Okay, that's fine. This is gonna be the password, okay, which is showing up here. Password profile false. What is street address and all this, I'm not interested in. This is giving me user principal name. Okay, so I can give anything that dot on Microsoft.com. Okay, I can give all this information, and surname is something Larosa. Okay, so I don't have any user with this name. Okay, just to validate, there is no Mary. Okay, there is no Larosa. Okay, so there's nothing that is showing up here. Now if I go here, okay, if I go here, so all this information details I can show up here, right?
My
Password
sharing
and
is
all.
stopped.
Sorry. I think I clicked something. 1 second. Sorry. Uh, is it fine now? Is it visible?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
So I was talking about this password. Okay. For example, I just wanted to give some random password. Maybe I'll just give it like India@123. Okay. Something like that. Whatever password you want, you can just put it here. Okay. All this information, postal code, everything is here. So this is Mary Larosa is going to be created. Now I just wanted to post. Post is something that I want to create. Something here. Now if I say if I want to delete it, of course I can get the details for that user and I can just choose delete. Okay, it is going to be deleted. Okay, now there is confusion in between these two. I mean, I think you might, later you will get it. Put something when you are replacing. Okay, post is something when you are creating new. Okay, so it is as good you can connect it to post is something when if you like you have ever sent any posts or something, right? So that post is always a new post. Okay, whenever you're sending that to anyone, that post is coming as a post. So always remember, I'm talking about a postal card. Okay, just think it like a postal card. Whenever you are sending something, when you are trying to create anything new, just remember post is the command, and post is something related to postal card, and postal card are always new card. Whenever you are sending it to your friend or family or your parents, you are giving a postal card that you have written by your hand. You have posted in a you posted in a post office or somewhere, in the Dropbox, and that is going to be your post always, right? Put is something that you are always replacing. For example, this is a table. Okay, on this table there is one food. Okay, that is there. Now it's been long time. Okay, and now you have new what do you say, new relatives are new, new people. What is called, the new person is coming. Okay, that you want to replace. So what you'll do, you will put it with the new item that you have prepared, and you'll change it with that. Okay, so that way you can replace or you can connect it. Put is always for replacing whatever there on the existing table. Okay, that is going to change. Post is something that you're going to always create a new postal card. You're going to send it something new always, right? Get is very straightforward. Get is something that you want to get something. For example, you want to get a big mansion, right? You want to get a big you want a luxury car, right, in your life. So all this, what you want, you have a big dreams, so you want to get those dreams, you want to achieve those dreams, so that's where you call it get. So always you will connect it to get, means something you want to achieve something. Okay, that is what get. Post is something we already talked about, like when you are sending any post, this is what post. Put is something when you're replacing something. Okay, now we have something called patch. Okay, patch is something is always like patch is what, for example, this is a new dress that you have purchased, just for example. Okay, and something that gone wrong. Okay, there is something that is some rat bite or something happened. It's really favorite of yours, and you want to fix it. So what you're gonna do it, you are going to get that patched. Okay, you can take it to any nearest what do you say clothes center. You can ask them like okay, this is my favorite, can you fix this? So what they are going to do, they are going to patch it with something. There is stitches or something that you're going to do, they are going to patch it. So this is how you can connect. Whenever you want to patch it, means that you want to change something, it's already there but it's not working, you want to fix it. It is as good like Windows patching, right? I think everyone is aware about Windows patching. So Windows patching is what we're doing exactly. We are doing Windows patching. What you're doing, every now and then you are patching with the new updates, new security updates, so that your system doesn't go into a vulnerable state. Okay, there should not be any hacker who's trying to attempt to your machine. They should not be able to make changes on it, right? So that is what called patching. So now I think you are comfortable. Delete is something very straightforward. I think that don't need to tell you delete and all. Delete is something that you want to delete something. Okay, for example, I want to delete sorrow. Oh, sorry, sorrow. Okay, you want to delete something, pain. Okay, you want to delete money crunch. Okay, so you want to delete everything from here. So that's what called delete. So now you can easily remember things. Okay, that way you can easily, because I got confused initial stage when I learned this. I wasn't knowing like why I'm using put, why I'm using post. Okay, I was keep getting confused in between. I was keep running these random queries. So now to figure it out, to fix this problem, this is how the simplest way. If you want, you can take a screenshot of it. Maybe you will it will help you. You can write it down on a diary or paper or pen, whatever you want. You can just keep a note of it, so that whenever you are running your graph APIs query, okay, you do not mingle these things in together. So you always, however, I mean, it's something is like you can experiment it. You can just try seeing if that works or not, but this is something which really helps. Okay, all right. So this is what I was talking about. We are going to now if I do put, what will happen, guys? Let me copy this. Okay, now if I do put, what is going to happen?
Replace.
It going
After it is going to alter the current script.
Put is something we are replacing, right? We are replacing something which is already existing. Okay, we talked about patch. Patch is something we are going to update or change. Okay, which is already there. Post is something we are doing a fresh letter post, like we talked about it, right? So let me do this fresh here. Okay, and I'll let me run this query. Okay, now of course this is bad request coming. Why? Because there is something which is mismatched. Okay, let's see what is saying. The domain portion of the user principal property is invalid. You must use one of the verified domain names. Okay, so of course there is something wrong here. So mere cloud pc.onmicrosoft.com, let me check if that is correct or not. So it's showing mere cloud pc.onmicrosoft.com, that is correct. Okay, so what is wrong? And cloud pc.onmicrosoft.com, that is correct. What does it say more? Invalid value code is saying user principal name is invalid. All right, got it. I think we are missing this. Okay, I think this is complete. Let's do it. Play load. It's able to read it out. Okay, what is the problem? 1 second. Let me do this again.
Code should be outside, I guess. Bible.
Sorry.
Codes. Yeah, codes. I mean, that Marlowe's that codes. One is outside and one is at the end.
Sorry. Yes. That's what I'm thinking. Where is the code missing? Right, exactly. That's what it should be inside of it. Right. That's what. Correct. Good catch. Okay. Now still we having a problem here. It says the domain portion of user password is valid. You must enter in the verified user details. Okay, at meetcloudpc.onmicrosoft.com. What is the problem? Download this at meetcloudpc.onmicrosoft. That is where user principal name is going to be, and rest of the information is correct. Okay, let me copy this 1 second. Let me just do the post again. Okay. All right. Okay. I think at the rate domain. Okay. Let this be as it is. Okay. Let's create the same user. I don't want to play change here. Okay. Let's make it same way. Okay. This says domain. So domain. It will automatically pick the domain wherever I am available. Okay. I don't need to specify again domain. It seems like.
Vaibhav, I think the basis was wrong. See here, the domain should be in bracket maybe. While we're giving reaction.
Domain should be in
Now,
bracket. Correct. Correct.
now also I think you got some issue.
Right. On Microsoft.com. Correct. So now we should enter the domain, and I think this will work this time. Okay. So we had actually removed this braces earlier. Okay. Still, it's not taking. It says invalid. The domain portion of the user property is invalid. User. Okay. Let it. Don't scratch your head. Let's make some changes here. Okay. Do the demonstration later. Right now, just wanted to give you heads up. Okay. Let's delete one user. Okay. Let's see. I have one user which I wants to delete. Okay. I have users. Let me go and check one of the users. I just wanted to get rid of it. Test user 4. Okay. Let me see. This is part of it. Okay. So this user, I'm just going to get rid of this user. Okay. It's been long time. Lots of users are here. So this is the object ID. Okay. I'm just going to copy this object ID, and I'm just putting that here. Okay, I'll just paste it like this, and I'll just run this query. Okay, it is successful, means this user is now deleted. Okay, now if I go again in the users list, this was test user, right? Test user 4. Okay, just going to refresh it. Let's see. Okay, so it is gone. You can see this is no longer available. So if I go and run this test user, so there is no test user available. So how quickly this ran, rather if I go here manually, if I delete something, maybe if I just click on it, and if I need to delete it, so it will give me first prompt. Okay, I need to if there are any rules assigned, any groups are assigned, then I need to remove those all. Then I click on delete. Okay, the graph API was easiest form. It easily just you select it, enter the ID, and just updated it. Okay, let's do some few more things. We're almost running out of time. I just wanted to show you something, maybe some sort of policies. Okay, but okay, I mean, you guys just go and experience it. Okay, just run different sub. So these are already available. You just need to click on it. The query will change, and you just go and utilize it for your example. Okay, I'm just looking something. Do we have something here? Windows update. Okay, get deployment. No. Okay. No way. Fine. I'll do one thing. Let's do the complete demonstration tomorrow. Meanwhile, just you guys go and explore it. Now, if I click on API Explorer, so I see there are multiple other APIs which are exposed. Okay, and I can go and access those all. Okay, I can look at different maybe if I need to go to my domain. Okay, I want to look at my domain ID and all this information. I don't know why it's not coming. So it is just running the query. So I don't have sufficient privileges. But of course, like this, we can have, for example, compliance. Okay, just to show you, let me see if I can run the compliance and it can tell me whatever the compliance is there. I don't know why it's not showing up here. So there's no compliance details is coming up here, but there are some compliances. Okay, this query is not coming up, but we'll talk about the compliances. Okay, we'll look at different set of compliances, then how we can run those compliances, and we'll also talk about something from the PowerShell. Okay, this is something we talked about from your Graph API. So Graph API is giving you option to interact with your APIs, right? For multiple options you have, like from devices, we didn't do anything devices, right? So if I go to devices and run the devices, of course I don't have permission. Let's do the device read and write. Okay, let's give this consent full and let's approve, accept it. Okay, now if I go and run this, so it is going to tell me all the device details. Okay, if I do a full screen, so it is going to giving the full data. Okay, it is going to talk about this one device ID which is available with this ID, and this device ID name is, this is a Windows device. Okay, and this is a registered device. All this information is coming up. Then this is a second device, okay, which is a personal device. This is Azure joint. Okay, all this information you can take a look from here. This is a third device which is there, which talks about all this. So we don't have much. This is a CM server. Okay, this is our SCCM console. Okay, this is what it's talking about. Then we have a fourth device. This one is for, this is for MDM. This is also virtual machine. Okay, and this is a Windows machine. This is also talking about, this is a hybrid join device. You can see that this is main is prod, something like that. Okay, so this is how you can go, and this name is your Entra device. This is Entra joint. You can see that this is a Azure domain joint showing as prod. Entra auto profile is, you know, available on this. So likewise, you can go to multiple devices. You can read it out. Now, for example, I want to just change something for particular device, so I can directly take this JSON data, okay, and just I put that to particular device details, and I can change it something, whatever I want. Okay, I can make that change. So likewise, you can see, and then response headers is talking more about which content type was run. Okay, what is the control of cache, what is the request ID, everything is here. And code snippet, if you want to go, so it doesn't give you much, but it's telling you like which graph client is going to connect and what function was it used during that, using the Python. If I go to PowerShell, they don't have anything. In PHP, this was the result format that was changed. On devices, there was a get and wait function that has been used. All this JavaScript is telling you that this is how it extracted the information. So client.api, they extracted to devices and they got the information. Okay, toolkit and all is not available. So that's how you can go and get the data. So try this, and if I just switch to beta version, okay, now it will change all the commands. Let me see if I can show you under the devices. So this is, let me go to post. Okay, so post, let me see request. We don't have anything, right? But you can, in the post query, you can mention what you want to change. Okay, whatever you want to change, that will be updated here. Okay, so we'll do the lab tomorrow. Okay, we will learn how we can achieve it. Tomorrow we are going to talk about this. We didn't do this, right? I'll just type in something. Let's see if I can show you here. Maybe just put it, okay, change it to v1, okay, put it, and just don't get it. Okay, so I want to, in the users, fail to construct. Okay, sorry, my bad. That's what I'm thinking, why get run query is not coming. Okay, so it is going to tell me if I'm going to run a users query whose name starts with S. Okay, so it is given me this username starts with S, this SQL starts with S, SQL SA starts with S, and this. So there are four users whose name starts with S. Okay, so this is how the quickest way you can go and grab it. Like I want to see how many devices are non-compliant, what is their whatever their managed devices, right? I want to see what is their status currently. So I can, like, for example, let me see, I don't have any managed devices right now in this lab, but let me run. Let's see. Okay, so permission is not there for devices. This is the first time we are running devices. Uh, okay, let me read and write all. Let me give my consent. Okay, let's check the box, accept it, and this consent is given. Okay, now if I go and run this, so it has successfully run. And if I go to check, so now I have these managed devices. One managed devices is here, which is my Windows device, which is Entra join. Okay, this is the one. And I think another one is for Windows. Okay, this is also something that we tried in Entra. This is Entra connected. Okay, this was for cloud PC. Okay, you can see the difference here. It is showing me model, and the above one is not showing me model, I believe. Yeah, it is showing me model. This is virtual machine. Okay, so that's how I can differentiate. Okay, we're talking about this particular device. So this device is no longer with us because I have already my license is no longer active, so it shouldn't be working. Then I have another one. This is my personal device. This is showing me Windows Azure join, and this is registered. Okay, all this information is showing up here. Okay, so likewise you can see all your managed device in your infrastructure. Okay, and you can run it. So accordingly we'll do more in-depth detail. Okay, how we can leverage these. So currently I just ran this query for get and post. Okay, post, we just changed the department details for one of the user. So likewise I want you to prepare it. Okay, just do tomorrow, just make it run these queries. Okay, make it test. Let's see how it is working for you. Share your experience tomorrow. Okay, how was that interaction with your Graph Explorer? How was it, and how did you find it more rather than going to console, how was this friendly when you are making changes and things, right? So let's meet up tomorrow. Any questions from anyone? Any confusion, any doubt, any question, guys?
Not on this actually, Vaibhav. I need your help on setting up my, Intune and that Entra ID. It's not happening. I tried, several times. So I got confused now. And it shows me that some site is blocked. I don't know what is happening. I, wasted my whole, yesterday and Sunday on it, and I don't know how to do it.
Okay, we'll connect and do it. Okay.
Vaibhav, can you show me the previous screen where we have getting a list of get and all commands?
For sample queries, sample
Yeah,
queries.
sample queries, right.
Okay. So for example, this is my profile. So I'm just going to run this. So it is going to give me data. If I click on this, it is giving me the data about this. So all this are the sample queries. If you see, there are two, this Graph Explorer queries. Okay, one is your sample queries, which is talking more about the basic thing. API Explorer, like you have different APIs which are already exposed. Okay, if I click on this API, so you can see that 71 search result had come. If I search for user and search it, so I can see there are 34 search results which talks about the user. Okay, so I can go and do this in real time. Okay, real time I can populate the data and I can look up the device details. Or for example, if I go to devices, I can see who's the registered owners, what about this their get command, how many count, everything you can do. So first of all, I don't want to explore this API. I just wanted to go to queries. Okay, run these basic ones. Okay, and look at, like, for the group. Okay, just try creating some group, just try deleting some group, change something in the group, just try doing some basic thing like in user, usually go to users, devices, groups. All this are basic thing that you can try deleting. So that way you will keep and you'll have an understanding how to interact with Graph Explorer, mainly because we are not from programming background. So sometime it may we people don't want to talk, or they don't want to use Graph API, because this is something where a little bit of programming aspects come. a little touch that comes. So rather, to running out of your reach, just do experiment and see how things are running. Okay.
It seems like a little bit mixture of SQL, I guess. Not fully, but
It
yes.
it is yes, it is.
Yeah, it
SQL
seems like
queries, like we
yes.
go to CMDB, from
Yeah,
their data
it seems
source we
like
run.
we have to,
Correct.
type same syntax,
Correct.
to get our data.
Right. Right. Absolutely correct.
Vaibhav, was it about license setting? What Divakar and you, I think Divakar had some issue, right? Was it about
Yeah,
license?
he's not able. Yeah, no, he's not able to set his tenant, I believe. So we just need to
Okay.
figure it out. What is the
Okay,
problem?
please let us know whenever you are, doing
Mhm.
that. Even I want to join.
Okay, sure. I will post that query on WhatsApp whenever we are, available. So
Okay.
whosoever
Okay.
wants can join that, and we will set it up.
Sure.
Okay,
Thanks. Thanks, Vaibhav.
no problem. Okay, so I hope everything is fine. We are good to wind up, and I hope it was something that you take it, you want to practice it and learn it, and we will gradually go more deep. You'll understand later, like tomorrow we'll talk about more on the PowerShell integration, how you can do it. I've already created one file, okay, which is going to talk about different set of commands and everything, okay, that you can utilize, and that will save your time also, and easily you can learn it. You usually those copy those commands and just paste it and just run it in PowerShell, and though that way we can easily learn this graph API. Okay, and then later on, if you want to experiment more, I'll give you some scripts, in our automation, what do you say, module. We'll talk about entire in-depth different scripts that you can use to automate your Intune infrastructure. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for your time today, and really appreciate. Thank you so much. I hope the session was informative, and would like to see you guys again tomorrow. Okay. Take care. And apology, I was stuck with. I had already discussed 2 days. One fine day there was no electricity, and then next day I had some rituals and all. So we just completed everything now, and we'll be back on track. So I hope we'll not see any downtime or any interruption in the classes. Okay, we should commence it, and we should finalize and end it up on time, so you guys can prep yourself and appear for interviews. One good news is one of the student from Sweden, he got the job yesterday. Day before yesterday, he got the confirmation. Yesterday, he got the confirmation and offer letter as well. So it's a big achievement for Rectors, and he's so pleased and honored. I mean, though he could not connect the classes, but he said certainly he will write a review, or he will just record his experiences and he will share. So it's immense pleasure seeing you guys, elevating yourself, you're going to the next level, and getting new jobs, new positions, leadership and all. I want everyone you to see in the leaderships, of your company or organizations. uh, that's what Annotations wants. Okay, that's what we want you to fulfill. Fulfill your dreams, we want you to passionately follow that. Okay, and keep on doing the lab and practice. That's way you can sharpen your tool, and you can easily break all those myths and all, that you can't learn this, you can't do that and all. It can be easily achievable when you do the practice. Okay. All right, guys. So thank you so much. Let's wind up for the day. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you, Vaibhav. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vaibhav. Thank you.